Music taught a halt. Don't simply move past this. Don't let the day's clamor divert your focus from what's presently before you. Don't disregard the sensations you're having right now. For that inward tug you experienced, that moment of stillness before you could articulate it, wasn't mere chance. Your thoughts weren't merely adrift. That was the divine realm, working with complete accuracy, piercing the mundane fabric of your day, to set these words squarely before your gaze. Your sight, dear one, belonging to no other. There's nothing arbitrary about this instant. Absolutely nothing. The truth that you paused, the truth that an inner voice urged, hold on. The truth that your sight fixed upon these words, amidst all else vying for your notice, indicates heaven's deliberate action. That was a celestial hand setting something precisely in your way, something authored for you prior to your very first inhale. Within God's throne room exists a sealed sanctuary. The majority of spirits never become aware of its presence. It isn't discussed in the same manner as other holy entities. Angels do not traverse this place without careful consideration. Each entity approaching it does so with profound respect, in utter tranquility. Because the significance contained within that sanctuary surpasses anything found across all of existence. Inside that chamber, God safeguards his pledges, the decrees he penned in everlasting time, the fates he secured in sacred radiance before this world's groundwork was ever established, the distinct, unyielding, unalterable tasks inscribed upon every chosen soul, kept in complete security until the precise time he designated for their unveiling. Your chamber was unveiled today. I am Archangel Michael. I have remained in the direct presence of the omnipotent God from before the very first star was ever suspended in the heavens. I have conveyed his communications throughout epochs to the spirits he uniquely chose for particular instances. And today, he designated me to deliver a message to you, not to an assembly, not to an entire generation en masse, to the solitary person absorbing these words at this instant. For what emerged when your sanctuary opened today resonated through heaven's throne room with the might of a proclamation so potent, so irrefutable, that God addressed the angels gathered before him, saying, "Depart, depart at once. Locate this individual, reach them before today concludes. Ensure they grasp this message. That message has reached you. You possess it currently, and you will remain attentive to every single syllable of what I am about to convey, for the content of this message holds more significance than you presently comprehend. What you absorb during this period won't merely float through your thoughts like typical data. It will embed itself deep within you. It will access parts within you that have been dormant and anticipating for an exceedingly long duration. It will transform the spiritual climate surrounding your existence in manners that will start revealing themselves today and will persist in unfolding for many months and years ahead. Therefore, wherever you find yourself at this instant, whatever space contains you, whatever time envelops you, whichever corner of this planet you call your dwelling, claim this moment as your own. For the divine realm first designated it for you. And if you find yourself stirred by this divine designation, liking this video will activate the flow of God's favor in your life. I will start by revealing something concerning a numerical value. 3 numbers, actually. And if these have been appearing to you recently, my upcoming declaration will validate what your inner self has already intuited. 333, 777, 111. If any of these patterns have emerged in your life, on a timepiece, a sales slip, a page indicator, a traffic marker, across the minor and seemingly mundane aspects of your daily existence, you must grasp that they were not accidental. They weren't arrangements your intellect was fabricating from chance occurrences. They were indicators, messages imprinted by heaven's own hand into the common weave of your everyday life to convey a single truth. I observe you. I am close. Be vigilant, for something is approaching. Today marks the arrival of that something. The numeral 333 in the lexicon of heaven conveys the indication of ongoing divine fulfillment. It proclaims that the tripartite pledge God issued over your life, your recovery, your liberation, and your ascension are no longer anticipatory. They have transitioned to the current state. They are unfolding. And the fact that this number reached you prior to this message finding you wasn't merely chance layered upon chance. It was a synchronized action. Heaven purposefully designated your journey so that upon the arrival of these words, an aspect of your spirit would already be sufficiently aware to embrace them completely. If you feel this truth resonate deep within you, if you are ready to declare your acceptance of this divine fulfillment, type Amen in the comments below. Let this be your statement of readiness, aligning your spirit with the unfolding of recovery, liberation, an ascension that God has already activated for you. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission will grow into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Giving to this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our exclusive community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through hearts that are kind. This is what I say over you now. Each gift you give is like a stream of living water that flows into the life of someone who needs healing. Give, and it will be given to you is not just a verse for Jesus, it is a living promise that shapes your future. Allow me to invite you now with a simple act of faith. Come into this moment with purpose, with honesty, and with hope. The money you give today is not a donation. The act of spiritual obedience that lets your heavens open is what opens them. Let go of your seed and see what God brings back into your life. What I am preparing to disclose next is the segment heaven strived most intensely to conceal from you. There exists a particular evening in your history, an evening you might recall when an event transpired in God's throne room that fundamentally altered your future. You were never informed of it until this moment. Remain attentive. Examine this visual attentively. This is the sanctuary, the enclosed space in heaven that was unsealed with your name inscribed on it today. Allow this truth to permeate your soul. This is not fantasy. This is where your pledge was held, and from where it is now being set free. Now, I need to inform you about the night the divine realm made a determination concerning your life, of which you were unaware. It wasn't an evening that struck you as important. It might have felt like one of the bleakest and most common nights of your being. A night when the burden upon your existence seemed more oppressive than typical. An evening when uncertainty resonated more strongly than conviction. An evening when the chasm between your present position and God's promised destination felt so immense, so unbridgeable, that surrendering appeared more rational than persevering. You are familiar with such nights. Perhaps you are experiencing one even now. The type of night that doesn't proclaim its significance. The type that simply feels like another night of forlorn, fatigued, barely enduring, clinging on. Yet in heaven, that night was exceptional. For on an evening precisely like the one I depict, an evening when your spirit was at its most strained, its most challenged, its most silently despairing, an event occurred in God's throne room that you were never intended to learn of until this instant. The celestial beings assigned to document the devotion of God's followers presented your name before him. They delivered the complete chronicle of your perseverance, the thorough detailing of every supplication you had whispered into the shadows, uncertain if it reached any destination, the evidence of each solitary morning you rose and pressed on when all mortal logic urged cessation. They placed it entirely before God and proclaimed, "This individual has not relinquished their grip," and God, who perceives the culmination from the initial outset, who comprehends the full narrative of every existence before its opening chapter is even penned, God examined that record and shed tears, not out of grief, but from the sort of boundless delight. For what he discerned in you on that evening was something scarcer than terrestrial gold and more valuable than anything found among the constellations. He observed fidelity that had persevered through the precise circumstances the adversary crafted explicitly for its annihilation. He beheld a spirit that had been rattled and twisted and burdened and strained beyond what any human ought to bear, but one that had never, in its innermost core, loosened its hold on him. And on that evening, God issued a declaration. He stated, "The dawn approaching for this individual will differ from any morning they have experienced. The significant advancement I have been holding back will not merely drip, it will inundate. The renewal I have been cultivating will not come in fragments. It will arrive as a surge, and the foe who believed that extending the delay would ultimately cause this spirit to yield, that foe will not rejoice. That adversary will observe what I accomplish for those who persevere through obscurity. And it will transform into such a potent testament that future generations will continue to recount it." That proclamation was issued. It was sealed within your sanctuary, and today that sanctuary opened. Peruse this. Recite it aloud if possible. This is heaven's decree concerning your life uttered today, and it will not be without effect. I need to introduce you to a truth that most individuals live their whole existence entirely ignorant of. A truth that, upon full comprehension, will perpetually alter your perception of every event that has ever befallen you. Every hardship, every deferment, every sorrow, every mysterious period of stagnation, regardless of how earnestly you prayed or how devotedly you acted. All of it will appear transformed once I reveal what has truly been occurring for your benefit. From the instant God announced your intention, from the point the design of your fate was inscribed in everlasting tongue, a conflict commenced, not a skirmish in the tangible realm, though that realm has undoubtedly experienced its repercussions. A struggle in the domain imperceptible to your physical sight. A conflict waged at a dimension inaccessible to your natural vision, yet one your spirit has consistently perceived. A contention so precise, so aimed, so unceasingly concentrated that its chief aim from the outset was to hinder a singular outcome. Not your contentment, though the adversary would willingly relinquish that as well. Not your ease or your security. The adversary's main objective has consistently been something far more profound than those aspects. The adversary's chief aim has invariably been your expression, the unique essence of spiritual influence embedded within you prior to your birth, the exact blend of knowledge, discernment, affection, and sacred empowerment that enables you to impact the lives of those around you in ways no one else can duplicate. The evidence your existence was fashioned to bear and disseminate globally. That is what the foe has ceaselessly battled to suppress. For the adversary comprehends something about you that you haven't yet completely realized. Your witness, your vibrant account, inscribed not in a volume, but within the chapters of your actual life, serves as an instrument, a destructive, gloom-dissolving, bondage-shattering instrument, and the shadows have recognized this since before your initial inhalation. This is why the assaults never seemed generalized. They felt individualized, because they were indeed personal. The adversary did not dispatch a wide, ranging attack hoping you'd be trapped in its aftermath. The foe instigated a distinct, analyzed, meticulously planned offensive against the specific individual you are, against the precise endowments you possess, against the exact scope of your fate where your influence was intended to be most significant. Every hardship was a directed blow. Every extended period of anticipation was a deliberate strain meant to shatter you. Every connection that severed at an inopportune time. Every monetary opportunity that closed when it ought to have appeared. Every health emergency that emerged at the most unfavorable juncture. None of these were chance difficulties. They were purposefully directed at you. But this is where the narrative shifts. This is where what sounds like dire tidings transforms into the most compelling proof of your sacred worth. The adversary targeted cautiously. The adversary aimed tactically, and the adversary failed on every single attempt. You remain present. Your conviction endures. Your expression has not been suppressed. Your calling has not been quenched. The affection within you has not withered. The ability for hope you possess, that silent, persistent, deeply embedded hope that revives even when all worldly logic dictates it should remain dormant, still thrives within you. And it thrives because God stationed protectors around it, of whom the adversary was unaware. This is what transpired around your life, while the foe directed its aim at you. Observe this visual. These protectors stood as a barrier between you and the shadows on every single occasion. This is why you endured what you did. This is why you remain present. Allow me to speak of the first. Before you reached an age to comprehend your need for safekeeping, a protector was designated to the entrance of your inception. Not your year of birth, nor your early life, but the spiritual dawn of your narrative. The instant your intention was inscribed in the divine realm, clear's throat, and your name was uttered for the initial time into endlessness. This protector was charged with a solitary instruction. Whatever the shadows endeavor in your earliest phases, the essence God implanted in this individual will not be annihilated before it has an opportunity to establish itself. Each instance in your formative years where a situation could have harmed you irrevocably, this guardian was present. Not always perceivably. Not always in a manner you could articulate, but present, maintaining the boundary. Guaranteeing that the core of your being stayed whole beneath any tempest raging outwardly. You recall instances from your youth that you cannot entirely account for. Times when something ought to have shattered you, yet it did not. Times when you later reflected and understood you navigated something you shouldn't have been able to navigate at your age, with your available means, with the assistance that was or was not present. That wasn't merely fortitude. That was divine protection. That was the initial one of 7 celestial champions, fulfilling precisely what they were tasked by God to accomplish. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our exclusive community. By doing so, You become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself, Jesus says. This is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. Now, learn of the second. The second protector bears a duty specifically over the lineages linked to your ancestry. Not solely your existence, but the lives that proceed from yours, your offspring, their descendants. The sacred legacy intended to transfer from you to them, like a stream wending through ravines. This protector has stood at the demarcation of your ancestral line, contending to prevent what God destined to flow through your heritage from being severed by past accumulated harms. The recurring difficulties your family has borne, the habits that have recurred over time, the burden you've sensed even when you couldn't identify its origin. This protector has been operating at an unseen dimension to untangle what was knotted, to snap what was coiled, to cleanse the conduit so that what God intended for your lineage can at last completely proceed. Today, that protector presents a particular account before God. Today, that protector stands before the throne and proclaims, "The moment for generational liberation is at hand." The individual bearing the key to their family's breakthrough is aware and accepting. And God replies with a single authoritative command: unleash it. Today, the ancestral barrier that has restrained the completeness of what your family was meant to experience is being shattered. Today, aspects that characterized your family for decades, for generations, are being recategorized in the divine chronicle. They are no longer the bequeathed narrative. They are the triumphant narrative. This message is for your kin. Recite it over them. Utter it into the ambience of your dwelling today. What was passed down is being surmounted. If you are ready to claim this generational liberation, if you believe this truth for your lineage, and for the lives that will proceed from yours, then declare it. Type AM in the comments now as a powerful statement that the triumphant narrative has begun for your family. The third protector's task: you will identify the instant I delineate it. This protector has been positioned at the locus in your life where your tranquility resides. And this protector has withstood the most unyielding resistance among all seven. For the adversary comprehends with complete assurance that an individual at peace is an individual with might. A person with a calm mind, a settled heart, an unwavering trust in God is an individual immune to manipulation by fear, incapable of paralysis by anxiety, unable to be derailed by the clamor of events. The adversary was aware of this. Thus, the foe orchestrated a more prolonged, more deliberate, more persistent attack against your inner calm than against nearly any other aspect of your life. This explains why the apprehension sometimes seemed utterly excessive. This explains why concern has sometimes occupied far more mental territory than it ought to. This explains why slumber has sometimes been unobtainable. Why your thoughts have at times felt like a chamber filled with voices refusing to hush. Why apprehension has sometimes enveloped you without any discernible origin. These were not defects of character. They were not indications of fragile belief. They were direct aggressions against the protector stationed at the entrance of your tranquility. This protector sustained those impacts, absorbed them, remained steadfast, continued safeguarding the profound reservoir of calm God embedded within you at your very inception. That reservoir was never depleted, dear one. It was merely submerged beneath the burden of the conflict surging above it. Today, The conflict overshadowing that reservoir is dissipating. Today, the third protector, whose devotion has been utterly remarkable amidst the most unceasing resistance, receives a direct mandate from God. No longer guard this calm solely against assault. Unleash it. Release it into this cherished child's life with the complete potency of all you have been safeguarding. Allow that reservoir to surge. Let the tranquility that was ever present, yet perpetually beleaguered, at last emerge entirely, forcefully, enduringly, and you will sense its inception, perhaps not instantaneously, perhaps initially as a quieting, a subtle, yet unmistakable calming in the region of your chest that has been constricted for so long you've forgotten its previous sensation. That sense of calm is the third protector fulfilling a new directive. Observe it today, and when you perceive it, do not disregard it. Do not rationalize it. Embrace it as the sacred blessing it truly is. The calm of God entering with dominion the domain it was always destined to occupy. This is the protector of your tranquility. Observe the radiance in this image. That identical brilliance is being infused into the most profound, most wary parts within you right now. Do not avert your gaze from this. Allow it to penetrate you. The fourth protector stands at the entrance of your supply. And I need to elaborate here, because the harm inflicted upon your comprehension of what is accessible to you in this domain has been considerable. The adversary did not simply generate periods of monetary hardship in your life. That alone would have been tolerable. What the adversary worked harder to achieve was something far more inconspicuous and far more ruinous. The adversary strove to build within you a belief system centered on deficiency, an inner conviction that insufficiency was somehow tied to merit, that the monetary strain you bore was connected to some spiritual inadequacy within you, that the opportunities that didn't materialize were shut for reasons pertaining to your worth, or your belief, or your position before God. Those were falsehoods, every solitary word. The fourth protector bears witness today that every access point of provision that stayed shut over your life was not closed due to any deficit on your part. Those access points were sealed because the adversary placed impediments at every entry. There were distinct celestial supply conduits designated for you that the shadows identified and purposefully moved to obstruct. Not indefinitely. They cannot perpetually impede what God has ordained, but transiently, tactically, vexingly. They engineered diversions and postponements and sealed entries that were never intended to stay shut. They did this to wear you down, to lead you to believe that plentifulness was simply not your lot, to compel you to lower your aspirations until you ceased striving for the completeness that was consistently awaiting beyond the hindrance. Today, the fourth protector ascends and issues a proclamation before heaven's throne. Every impediment placed in this cherished child's supply is dissolved today. Every fabricated barrier, every engineered postponement, every entry that shadows sealed in a domain God marked for sustenance and favor, open. Today, those conduits are reactivating, not merely cracking, not partially conceding, but opening fully. And the supply that was gathering beyond those obstructed entries, the monetary favor designated for your life that was held in heaven's keeping while the adversary maintained the entrance sealed, that supply is now mobilizing. Today its movement commences, and you will start observing proof, both minor and major, that heaven's provision pipeline has been entirely re-established to your existence. Accept this message concerning your finances, your dwelling, every opportunity that seemed permanently closed. Declare it. Trust it. For heaven has already given the directive. The fifth protector is the one whose efforts have perhaps been most apparent to you, even if you never comprehended what you were observing. This protector's charge encompasses your connections, specifically the sacred ties God destined to be part of your narrative. The individuals he positioned in your journey with a precise aim, the fellowship he crafted for you to be supported by, and to support in return, the comradeship's familial ties, and spiritual partnerships that were meant to serve as foundations in the framework of your existence. The fifth protector has been posted at these connections, toiling incessantly to shield them from the breaks, estrangements, treachery, and deprivations the adversary specifically designed to leave you solitary. For solitude is among the adversary's most potent instruments. An individual pursuing their calling unaccompanied, without the community God intended to accompany them, is a person bearing twice the load while drawing on half the might. The adversary is aware of this. Thus, among its most intentional, most prolonged campaigns against your life has been the deliberate dismantling of the connections meant to uphold you. The friendship that concluded agonizingly and never fully resonated. The familial interplay that ought to have been a source of power, but instead became a source of injury. The instances you extended yourself and were not reciprocated. The periods when you surveyed your surroundings and felt more solitary than anyone living your life should ever experience. The fifth protector observed all of that, withstood the impacts directed at those connections, and today stands before God bearing the cost, what was given to preserve, what endured of your sacred relational framework. But today, the account does not conclude with deprivation. Today, the fifth protector also conveys a distinct message that in the forthcoming periods, God is sanctioning the reinstatement of what was shattered and the initiation of what was never yet built. New connections, divinely situated, individuals bearing tasks that flawlessly complement yours, people who will view you through eyes unburdened by the adversary's story and perceive what heaven has always recognized in you. A fellowship is coalescing around your life today in the unseen domain, and it will manifest itself in the observable world. One sacred bond at a time, starting immediately. Remain present. What follows next is the protector's duty that the adversary has most vehemently opposed you from learning. This segment concerns the injuries it was never safe to discuss. If you have borne something in quietude for an extended duration, what is forthcoming in the next few moments was penned precisely for that internal space within you. Don't bypass this. This visual is for those who have felt solitary, for those whose connections have been severed, and who question if genuine rapport is still attainable for them. Observe what heaven is constructing around you. The seclusion was an instrument of harm, but today, that instrument is being disassembled. Sons, if this prophetic word resonates with your spirit, or if you know someone who needs to hear this breakthrough, share this video right now. Sharing this prophetic word will activate the anointing and share that breakthrough with your entire network. The sixth protector's task is the most challenging to discuss because it encompasses something many individuals spend decades feigning they don't require. Something the world sometimes regards as frailty when it is, in reality, one of the most profound manifestations of spiritual vigor accessible to a human. The sixth protector's mandate pertains to your recovery, not merely physical mending, though that is entirely encompassed, but the mending of deeper regions, the injuries inflicted by the very individuals who ought to have been most secure. The sorrow that was never fully permitted to traverse through and out of you. the deprivations you quietly integrated into your daily operations because no sufficiently safe space existed to completely relinquish them. The aspects of yourself you learned to shield because revealing them once incurred too great a price. I am aware of those internal spaces, dear one. God has revealed them to me, not as a list of your shortcomings or your injuries. He displayed them to me as a parent shows a doctor the wound on a child they cherish immeasurably, with gentleness, with immediacy, with the absolute unwavering resolve to see that injury addressed, mended, and closed, not merely scarred in a way that limits your function, but truly, profoundly healed in a manner that reinstates complete vitality to every impacted area. The sixth protector has maintained vigil at those locations, preventing the adversary from exploiting your injuries as perpetual access points into your life. And today, the sixth protector brings a fresh directive from God. It is not further defense that is being sanctioned. Protection was essential during the period you have been traversing. Today, what is being permitted over those injured areas is something more significant than safeguarding. Today, what is being sanctioned is renewal, the type only God can effect, not the alleviation of suffering, not learning to cope with what was damaged, but the authentic, total, leaving no trace recovery of what was fragmented. The mending that people will one day observe in your life and marvel at, because they will witness an individual who traversed experiences that ought to have permanently sealed them off from delight, from affection, from optimism, from serenity, and instead they will see someone who is entirely receptive, fully vibrant, completely restored, utterly themselves in the most splendid and expansive manner. That is what is approaching those areas within you, dear one, not eventually. The process commences today. This message is for the injured parts, the ones you have concealed. Allow this proclamation to penetrate each of them. Accept it as remedy dispatched directly from the hand of God. And now, the seventh protector. The seventh is positioned at the portal of your calling itself, the most profound task, the holiest station. The protector, whose mandate is not over any solitary aspect of your existence, but over its complete scope, over the motive God situated you here, over the vocation inscribed into your soul before you even grasped the concept of a calling, over the distinct contribution only you can provide. In the unique manner you can provide it, at the sole historical juncture you are present to make it. This protector has borne the most significant burden of all seven, because the adversary's ultimate and supreme objective was never the isolated conflicts of your life. The shadows could forfeit every minor engagement in every other sphere and deem it acceptable, as long as it hindered the realization of what you were dispatched here to achieve. For the shadows comprehend what would transpire if you fully ascend into your vocation. It understands the ripple effect, the lives that would be impacted, the spirits that would be touched, the generations that would be irrevocably transformed. The shadows grasp the extent of your influence far more thoroughly than you currently do, and it has been more apprehensive of your ignited purpose than of almost anything else it has ever confronted. Today, the seventh protector stands before God not solely with injuries, but with a bugle, a messenger's horn, the sort borne not by combatants, but by proclaimers, heralds who stand at the cusp of a fresh epoch and declare that the former season has concluded and the new one has been sanctioned to commence. Today, the seventh protector lifts that bugle before God's throne, and the entire celestial multitude falls into absolute stillness to heed. And into that quietude the seventh protector utters your name, proclaims it, inscribes it into the everlasting chronicle as the name of one who persevered, who clung on, who stayed true, and who is now, at this very instant, being set free into the total completeness of the intention for which they were formed. God's reply to that proclamation reverberates through every sanctuary of heaven. Every sanctuary, including the one that was sealed with your name inscribed upon it, the one that is unveiled today, and what flows forth from that sanctuary, now that it is open, cannot be halted, cannot be rewritten, cannot be postponed for another instant. It is advancing toward your life with the complete authority of your Creator endorsing every single word. The seventh protector, the one who safeguards your calling. Observe this visual. That bugle is being elevated right now over your life. The former season is concluding. Your name is being proclaimed into endlessness. Do not divert your attention from this moment. You are about to enter your divine future. Remember that this message does not end with you. People can use your breakthrough to get where they need to go. Through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our exclusive community, you can help this mission. By doing so, you are sowing into the awakening, deliverance, and restoration of souls who are still trapped in darkness. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you." Every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and safety for your family. Now is your time, my child. Have faith, and as you do, watch God multiply what you let go of. I need to pause here and address something that has been present with you throughout this communication. Something subdued and cautious, and perhaps a little hesitant to entirely trust what is being said. You've experienced this before. Not in this precise configuration, but in the sensation of optimism, of receptiveness, of that deep feeling when something resonates with your innermost self and you ponder. Perhaps this is the moment. Perhaps this is when the transformation finally occurs. Perhaps this is when the supplication is granted and the opportunity finally appears and the burden finally dissipates. You have been in that situation previously, and sometimes what ensued confirmed it, and sometimes it did not. And when it didn't, something small and silent receded a bit further back into its shielded refuge, chose to confide a little less fully next time, opted to withhold just a fraction of itself as a safeguard against the anguish of another letdown. I acknowledge that internal space, dear one, and I am not here to bypass it, or disregard it, or proclaim that your prudence signifies a lack of belief. Your wariness is discernment honed by genuine experience. The safeguards you erected around your optimism were not spiritual shortcomings. They were the sensible reactions of an individual who has genuinely existed, genuinely loved, genuinely grieved, and genuinely learned. But here is what God directs me to communicate to that guarded part of you at this very moment. The explanation for why earlier instances did not yield what you anticipated was not because the pledge was untrue. It wasn't because God reconsidered. It wasn't because you fell short of some condition. It was because the completeness of what was pledged possessed a timing that had not yet materialized. Like fruit that is authentic and on the tree long before it is mature enough for harvesting. The pledge was always genuine. The advancement was always impending. The renewal was always predestined, but it possessed a readiness, a moment of precise divine designation when every component of what God was constructing would be complete enough to sustain the entire force of what he was about to impart. Today is that instant. Not because I require your belief for this message to feel pleasant, but because what transpired in heaven today, the unveiling of your sanctuary, the seven protectors' testimony before the throne, the particular decree issued before you even awakened this morning, that is the divine appointment. That is the maturation arriving. That is the apex of every single stratum God has been forming. And the sole remaining inquiry is whether you will open sufficiently to embrace what is already progressing toward you. There are distinct matters God uttered concerning your life when your sanctuary opened today. Specific words he proclaimed that I was instructed to deliver to you precisely as they were imparted to me. Do not accept these as vague solace. Dear one, receive them as acutely directed communication from the God who created you, who knows you by name, and who does not speak incidentally. He proclaimed the years you perceive as lost are not truly vanished. In my system, nothing is forfeited. What was deferred is not ruined. What was pilfered is not irretrievable. Each year of your anticipation has been gathering returns in the celestial storehouse. And when I unleash your yield, it will arrive bearing the plenitude of every withheld year appended to it. You will not merely gain what was due to you. You will receive what was due, augmented by the divine multiplication that only I can bestow upon what has been postponed. Brace yourself for a bounty that seems out of proportion to the ordinary. Prepare yourself for what individuals term sudden. What appears abrupt from an earthly perspective looks like flawless timing from the divine. He declared the supplications you have offered for your children, for your kin who are straying or contending or adrift in periods they cannot escape. Not one of those prayers was futile. Not a single utterance. Every prayer you whispered for them is a seed in the everlasting record, and seeds do not retract into the earth after being sown. They develop, sometimes gradually, sometimes in manners not yet apparent outwardly. But today I am expediting the growth of what you've sown. What you have been advocating for within your family is shifting. Those who departed are being re-attracted. Those who have dwelled in obscurity are sensing light's magnetism. The opportunities that seemed perpetually closed over the lives you cherish are being accessed by my hand from within, not propelled from externally by your volition or soul endeavor, opened from the interior by mine. He proclaimed your physical form was not fashioned to bear what it has been bearing. It was not constructed to endure the spiritual and emotional endurance race you have been running without the recovery I pledged to you. Today I am addressing every part of your body that has been depleted, every system under duress, every region that has been seeking what it hasn't received. I am your maker. I know every cell individually. I know every fatigued area, and I am dispatching restoration today that flows through both the natural and the supernatural concurrently. Embrace it. Find repose in it. Do not impede it with apprehension. Allow the healing that is approaching your body right now to locate every place requiring it. He declared, "The solitude you have borne is one I observed with more distress than you realize. I am not an aloof God witnessing your isolation with detachment. I have been present in every instance of it. Every evening you felt unperceived. Every period you felt overlooked. Every time the affection you extended seemed to disappear unreciprocated. I was there, and I maintained a record. And the recompense for what you lavished in love without receiving it back is now coming to you. Not always in the identical guise, not always from the same individuals or origins. But the love you expended is returning to you, multiplied in manifestations, relationships, and sacred bonds that will occupy the voids in your life that have been vacant longer than intended. This is the message God uttered today concerning the years that felt squandered and the supplications that appeared to remain unaddressed. Accept this, every single utterance. There is an inquiry I must pose to you now, not a stylistic question, a genuine one, an authentic one. The sort that demands you contemplate it and allow your response to emerge from a place deeper than your superficial thoughts. When was the last occasion you truly trusted that something genuinely remarkable was entering your life? Not cautiously hoped, not kept the potential at a distance as a remote alternative. When was the last time you permitted yourself to believe wholeheartedly that an event was imminent, that would forever delineate a preceding and succeeding phase in your narrative? That a supply, a restoration, a reunion, a significant advancement, a sacred portal unfolding was not just conceivable, but was actively, immediately en route to you. If a considerable period has passed, if that type of conviction has become something you practice in carefully measured amounts to shield yourself from the anguish of its non-occurrence, then heed what transpires in the spirit when belief diminishes. When you cease believing entirely, the conduit through which heaven releases its pledges into your life does not seal completely, but it constricts. And a constricted channel cannot convey the entire power of what God is transmitting. This is not a penalty. It is merely the principle of how spiritual congruence operates. Heaven is continuously providing. The sustenance from God's hand is unceasing, continuous, boundless. But the pathway through which it reaches your life is determined by the state of your belief, by the receptiveness of your acceptance, by the breadth of your affirmation. Today, I am instructing you to broaden it. Today, I am urging you to set aside the meticulously portioned, cautiously managed, partial optimism that has served as your means for accepting sacred gifts. Substitute it with something distinct, not imprudent abandon, not the relinquishing of judgment, but the sort of fully open, unreserved. God has never deceived, and He is not commencing now belief that you once possessed, the kind a child exhibits before the world instructs it to be wary with hope, the kind that proclaims, whatever God has uttered concerning my life, I embrace it, all of it unconditionally, without restriction, without the cautious reserve of partial belief. For your sanctuary open today, dear one, what emerged from it is tangible and progressing, and already en route to every aspect of your life that has been anticipating. The sole thing left is for you to open broadly enough to welcome it upon its arrival. If you are ready, right now, to set aside all caution and fully embrace the boundless future God has authored for you, then make your declaration. In the comments below, write, "My divine future is activated." Let this be your unreserved embrace of all that is now flowing toward you. Do not depart now. You are at the most crucial segment of this entire missive. What God particularly addressed concerning your ensuing years, regarding the period immediately ahead, has not yet been proclaimed. It is approaching in the coming moments, and it will reframe your perception of every year still before you. Remain. I need to speak directly to those who are more advanced in age among the recipients of this communication, for you are the individuals I am most precisely tasked to reach today. And I will not permit a single utterance of what I have proclaimed to feel as though it bypassed you, directed at someone younger or in a different phase. If you have existed long enough to have cherished profoundly and lost some of what you held dear, this message is intended for you in a distinct and intimate manner. If you have known the burden of nurturing offspring through challenging periods and now bear the weight of observing them traverse a world that can be both harsh and perplexing. If you have prayed for decades and witnessed some responses and endured through others, and through all of it, forged a caliber of belief that only time and genuine experience can form. If you have felt the specific solitude that can settle in the latter stages of life when the dwelling is more silent than it once was, and vigor is diminished, and the world sometimes progresses at a tempo that doesn't seem tailored for the profundity of your insight. If you grasp any of those realities intimately, then you are the precise individual God crafted this message for today. For when your sanctuary opened this morning, God specifically addressed your concluding period. He proclaimed, "The individual who believes the finest segments of their life are past has not perused the entirety of what I have composed for them. I am a God who reserves the finest vintage for the end. I am a God who constructs toward a climax, not away from one. I am a God who dignifies devotion with plenitude. And the steadfastness of the protracted journey merits the ample yield of the extended harvest. The years before you are not a decline, they are an ascent. What I am unleashing into your life today is not the concluding part of an ending season. It is the inaugural phase of the most productive chapter you have yet experienced. You are not too aged for wonders. You are precisely the correct age for the particular wonder that bears your name. The sagacity you now possess, the profound understanding of God that stems from decades of genuine communion with Him, the unyielding nature of a belief that has been tried and maintained, that is not a disadvantage in what God is about to perform. It is the exact credential the task necessitates, and God is not overlooking you for someone younger. He is gazing directly at you and proclaiming, "No, this is the period. This is the instant. This is the empowerment. This is the individual. Proceed." This visual is for those who believe their finest days are past. Observe this. This is what God is unleashing into the concluding period of your life. Not a meager amount, not a slow drip, a bounty, an abundance. Your greatest chapter has not yet been authored. I need to speak to you now concerning 15. Clear's throat, 15 signifies the number of sacred favor applied to what was at risk of irreversible loss. In the everlasting tongue, 15 is the number that manifests when God intercedes at the final feasible juncture to reverse what appeared unalterable. You encounter it at the point when night is at its deepest gloom, just prior to the benevolent light of dawn transforming all. 15 is not an alert indicating how little time is left. It is a proclamation of God's exact timing in His intercessions. He does not arrive prematurely in a manner that circumvents the profundity of the trial, and He does not arrive belatedly in a way that permits irreversible detriment. He arrives at 15, at the precise boundary where what has been restrained can no longer be contained, at the instant of peak divine influence. Today is your 15 moment. Today is when God's intercession reaches the exact turning point of your narrative. Not the commencement, because the narrative necessitated what it did to construct what it forged within you. Not a random halfway point selected without regard to your actual existence, but the distinct, precisely measured, God, time juncture at which the completeness of what He has been cultivating culminates. The boundary at which the obscurity is deep enough that the illumination cannot be overlooked. The boundary at which the trial has yielded all it was intended to yield and can now be relinquished. The boundary at which what you have been striving for finally yields, entirely under the force of God's affirmation, being proclaimed over it. You are at that turning point at this very moment, not approaching it, not a few paces distant, right at it. The entrance is immediately before you. The aperture is open above your life. The sanctuary that contained what was pledged has been unveiled. The 7 protectors are present, and though they bear injuries, they stand with a victory in their gaze that the shadows cannot mimic because it has never experienced it. They stand because they recognize what is forthcoming. They have witnessed the proclamation. They know what lies beyond your unsealed portal, and they would bear their injuries 100 times over to guarantee you attained this turning point. Do not turn from it, dear one. Do not allow the accustomed allure of your past life to pull you back from the opportunity before you. Do not let the wary voice dissuade you from stepping through. For what lies beyond this turning point is not a sensation. It is not a fleeting elevation. It is not the spiritual equivalent of a pleasant day. What lies beyond this threshold is the existence authored for you before the world's inception, the complete life, the restored life, the sustained life, the meaningful, productive, joyous, and peace, protected life that God penned with your unique name at the top of every page. Step through, dear one. Today is the day. You must heed what follows. The proclamations I am about to utter are not mere encouragement. They are not inspirational phrases. They are legal judgments issued by the Supreme Court of Existence, God's throne room, spoken over your life today with definitive power. Every bond, every obstructed entrance, every unfulfilled plea, every silenced expression, all of it is addressed in what comes next. Do not cease reading now. These words were purposefully positioned at the conclusion of this missive, because the adversary will strive most intensely to draw you away before you absorb them. Persist until the very last word. This is your 15 proclamation. This is what God is stating concerning this instant, concerning this moment, concerning today. Recite it aloud. Let it permeate the ambience of your location, for this is your turning point. As I prepare to dismiss you from this communication and into the new chapter, now unfolding before you, I declare over your life the authoritative message of the one who tasked me to convey this word to you today. In the name of the God who unveiled your sanctuary this morning, I declare that every bond the adversary, affixed to your fate, is severed today, not weakened, not attenuated, completely cut. The jurisdiction under which those constraints were positioned has been rescinded by a decree issued from heaven's throne this very day. They hold no lawful claim over your life, absolutely none. Walk unencumbered, dear one. Walk as one from whom every restraint has been lifted, because indeed they have. Today I declare that the 7 protectors designated for your life are being revitalized at this very instant. With every utterance of this message you absorbed, with every affirmation your spirit has voiced, with every moment you remained receptive and chose to believe, light has been flowing back into them. Their injuries are not lasting. Their exhaustion is not the conclusion of their narrative. They are ascending. I am observing their ascent as I speak these words to you, and they are rising with a mandate that differs from previously. Not merely to safeguard what was assailed, but to propel forward what was destined to thrive, to repel the shadows from the domain of your life, not just to maintain position, but to gain territory. Heaven's advancing forces are being redeployed around your life today, and the territory they are reclaiming is yours. I declare that every voice that has pronounced defeat over your life, whether externally or from within your own mind, is stripped today of any authority over your future. The judgments they delivered are being invalidated by a supreme tribunal. The adversary's evaluation of your capabilities, your deserts, what is accessible to you, what God believes of you. Every single one of those evaluations is being superseded today by the sole assessment that truly counts, God's own. And his appraisal of you, dear one, is inscribed in a language of such absolute affection that no human vocabulary is expansive enough to encompass it. He says, mine. He says, cherished. He says, selected. He says, predetermined. He says, worth boundless value. He says, today is their day. I declare that the supplications you have offered, the prayers that seemed unaddressed, the prayers that felt like they vanished into quietude, the prayers you whispered for your family in the dead of night when you were unsure anyone was hearing, those prayers are answered. The responses are underway, not pending, not postponed, progressing actively, purposefully, specifically toward the individuals and circumstances you interceded for, bearing the complete intention of the God who heard every solitary word. The proof will start manifesting today and in the subsequent days. Observe it, and when you witness it, offer gratitude. For thankfulness is the portal through which more of heaven flows into the tangible domain. And I declare, dear one, that you are not solitary in any of this, not in the emergence, not in the journeying, not in the steering of the new chapter now commencing. You have 7 protectors ascending around you. You have the one who assigned them, never diverting his gaze from your path. You have the complete might of heaven's purpose directed toward the realization of what was authored over your life before existence itself began. This is the concluding visual. This is what encompasses you right now as you accept this missive. The conflict is not concluded, but the triumph is already recorded. Observe what heaven has arranged around your life today. You are not solitary. You have never been solitary, and from this instant onward you never will be. Remain linked to the fellowship that traverses this journey with you. The communications channeled from Archangel Michael were not compiled solely by human insight. They were gathered with sacred purpose to be the location where spirits requiring these celestial messages can discover them. Each day a fresh message emanates from this conduit. Each day a divine communication is delivered to the gaze of individuals who are precisely where you are, at the precipice of a breakthrough, needing the proclamation that the sanctuary is open, and the protectors are ascending, and the decree has been issued, and today is the day. You ought to be present for each of those messages. Subscribing to this channel will activate God's prophetic promise and alignment in your life, ensuring you don't miss a single word that heaven has for you. Subscribe to communications from Archangel Michael. Activate the alert bell so that when heaven speaks through this conduit, you are among the initial recipients. For the message arriving tomorrow might be the specific word a circumstance in your life has been anticipating. The communication arriving next week might be the breakthrough someone in your family needs you to obtain and convey to them. This fellowship is not an elective addition to your spiritual existence. For this period, it is a vital link, a daily re-engagement with the reminder that God observes you. The protectors are at hand. The pledges are authentic, and that today, every today, heaven is actively striving for your benefit. Dear one, I do not return you to the life you had prior to absorbing this message. I propel you forward into the existence that was always yours, into the rendition of your narrative, where the sanctuary is unveiled, and the proclamation has been voiced, and the protectors are ascending, and the supply is progressing, and the restoration is streaming, and the calling is activated, and the tranquility is genuine, and the affection is reciprocated. If there is an individual in your life who is currently in a state of anticipation, someone for whom optimism has waned, someone who has been striving and supplicating and persevering, and was on the verge of relinquishing the very hold that sustains their connection to the impending breakthrough, share this message with them today. Sharing this prophetic word will activate the anointing and share that breakthrough with their network. For the identical God who unveiled your sanctuary today possesses a sanctuary bearing their name as well. Understand what this entails in the regular hours of the forthcoming days. When you awaken tomorrow and the accustomed burden of life presses in before you have completely opened your eyes, recall this moment. Recall yourself that a sanctuary bearing your name was unveiled today. Recall that 7 protectors are ascending around your life at this instant. Recall that a proclamation was uttered over you in heaven's throne room, and that decrees issued there do not lapse with the day of their issuance. They are perpetual. They are already underway. When the situation appears unaltered, and the voice of doubt insists that nothing occurred, return to this truth. The unseen invariably precedes the seen. The seed resides in the earth before the yield manifests above it. What God initiated today does not await the visible domain to align before it becomes real. It is real now. The observable will ensue. It invariably does. Proceed with that assurance, dear one, not with hubris, but with the quiet, composed, unshakable conviction of an individual who was present when the proclamation was issued. Someone who comprehends what was announced. Someone who embraced it entirely and is now simply advancing toward the manifestation of what is already accomplished. Chosen, cherished, empowered, liberated, and prepared. With the might of every warrior and the affection of every protector, Archangel Michael, each time I unseal one of these envelopes, each time I grasp one of these pictures, each time I peruse one of those cards, something transpires within me that I cannot entirely articulate with common language. For these missives are not penned by an individual at a workstation. They convey something distinct, something that penetrates areas most things do not. And if you sensed that today, if something within you acknowledged what was in that communication, then I desire you to do one thing before anything else. Jot down where you will see it, the word today. Just that. For what was proclaimed over your life in this message was proclaimed today. And each time you observe that word in the coming days, let it serve as a reminder your sanctuary is unveiled. The proclamation has been voiced. The protectors are ascending, and heaven is already acting on your behalf. This is what surrounds you. This is what heaven has commanded concerning your life. And if you arrived at this channel today for the initial time, I wish to personally invite you to return. For every single day, there is a fresh missive, a new message dispatched through this conduit to reach the precise individual who requires it. That individual is sometimes you. That individual is sometimes someone you know and cherish. Subscribe to communications from Archangel Michael immediately. Press that alert bell so that not a single message meant for you is overlooked. And if you know someone currently navigating a challenging period, someone who needs to realize that heaven has not overlooked them, share this video with them today. Sharing this prophetic word will activate the anointing and share that breakthrough with their network. Let this missive reach them as it reached you. You are not solitary. You are never solitary. And from today onward, you will recognize this truth. We will encounter you in the next communication. Before we get to the end of this powerful story, let's take a moment to reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. This is not a stroke of luck. It is a direct message from Archangel Michael to you. He's extending his hand and inviting you into a protected, high vibrational community where divine abundance is not just a hope, but a promise. This sacred principle is very simple, but it can change your whole life if you follow it. You won't just receive blessings. They will be multiplied and flow into every part of your life. By accepting this invitation right now, you are unlocking immediate, early access to powerful content and divine insights that are hidden from the general world. Now is your chance to enter a sacred space where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this sacred moment of destiny pass you by. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join Archangel Michael's inner circle immediately through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the direct, personalized messages that are specifically meant to elevate and empower your life. If you desire to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. And for those who feel called to amplify this work, a link to purchase the guided ebook is available, which is completely optional, but your presence, attention, and energy already mean the world. Take the step, your abundance awaits.